Good afternoon, I'm Asma Hamad with your latest Merseyside Focus News. Our top stories: Chester Race Course set to be the latest vaccination site for Merseyside, and student accommodation in Liverpool earmarked for the homeless.
And in sport, it's all eyes on the handicapper as Tiger Rowe could be weighted out of his chance to beat Red Rum's record in the Grand National. And in football, Klopp believes his team can and will bounce back.
Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the government is looking at many different options that would allow British citizens to travel, including a vaccine passport. So far, more than 15 million people in the UK have received their first vaccine. On Merseyside, the effort to mass vaccinate has been stepped up with a new site opening at Chester Racecourse. But as Danielle Jones reports, many medical staff have still not received their second dose despite being inoculated months ago.
The vaccine rollout programme has now been running in the UK for over 2 months, with new vaccine centres opening daily across the country. This is to ensure the government's target of 50 million people vaccinated with the first dose by the middle of February is met. But many people who have been waiting for their second dose of the vaccine still haven't received them and worry they are not fully protected from the virus. Nurse Hala Salhill received her first dose of the Pfizer vaccine 14 weeks ago and has still not received the second dose of the vaccine, despite the wait time between each dose only meaning to be 3 weeks for it to be properly effective.
I don't think that a single dose of vaccine protect me much, and it's not fair that we haven't been given the second dose.
However, a man from Cheshire who received his first dose of the Pfizer vaccine on Friday, but has also not been given a date for his second dose, still remains confident in the rollout programme.
Millions have it, and the cases are all going down. But the government still say it's safe to go ahead with the vaccine.
Thousands of people continue to be vaccinated daily, and over 15 million people have now been given their first doses of vaccine. However, the number of people who have been fully vaccinated is not likely to be as high as this, and thousands are still waiting to hear as the dates for their second doses.
Plans to convert student accommodation in Liverpool in temporary housing for the homeless are set to be approved this week. Liverpool City Council wants to convert a housing block on Smithdown Lane into a 59-bed shelter for rough sleepers. The proposal will go before a planning committee this week as part of the council's new Liverpool ladder policy, which aims to tackle rough sleepers in the city in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Michelle Langan is the founder of the homelessness charity, the Paper Cup Project.
Pre-pandemic, we wouldn't have seen as many people as we have seen put inside accommodation. And I think also because of the risks with COVID, that people have been more willing to accept the offer of accommodation, because sometimes people can get offered accommodation, but it's not the right time for them to accept, for their own personal reasons. So with the combination of kind of people wanting to get inside and that offer being there, has been great and has meant that there's been a really good success rate of people going inside and staying inside.
Teachers in Merseyside are unhappy at government plans to reopen schools on March the 8th. They say pupils have got used to working online and changing halfway through the term will only cause more disruption. Oliver Johnson reports.
Boris Johnson is planning to reopen UK schools on March the 8th, despite unions rejecting this plan. Schools were last fully open for face-to-face classes before the Christmas break, so the majority of children will have gone nearly 3 months without being in school. A religious studies teacher, Dr Emily Pennington from Archbishop Blanche in Liverpool, talked to us about how teaching has adapted in the current circumstances.
I do understand the concerns about kids' education, but like I said, we have improved so much in terms of online provision that I don't think the damage is as significant as it could have been.
Many people are concerned about the well-being of the children, with them not being able to socialise with their friends, and the impacts being closed could have on their education. However, some teachers believe that in many ways children are benefiting from being online currently, as it is safer than being in a classroom and allows teachers to take more of a hands-on approach in their lessons.
We're not just saying, kids are off school to protect everyone else. Kids are off school to protect themselves as well, and to protect the staff. And I think the online provision is much better, and I feel that I've been able to be there for the kids on a more pastoral side more so with teaching online than when I was in school. So I don't think it's a case of sacrificing their education, because they are still being educated. You know, it's not like they're at home and they're just getting sent work. At least in our school, we are doing fully live lessons for each class.
The announcement is due to arrive in the coming week, although it remains to be seen if schools and unions will accept the plans for reopening. Oliver Johnson, Liverpool Live.
Pet owners have been warned to be cautious of people wearing fake RSPCA uniforms in a bid to steal family pets. According to the animal welfare charity, the demand for dogs in COVID lockdown has led to a rise in thefts. Harry Hughes reports.
Cases involving people impersonating RSPCA officers in order to steal dogs have come in across the country. The number of dog napping cases has skyrocketed over the last year, with the pandemic causing a huge demand for pets. Just this month, 7 puppies were recovered by police in Netherton after they'd been stolen from an address in Greater Manchester. The RSPCA said that their officers will be carrying ID and wearing branded uniforms. Also, a Merseyside dog walker has warned owners to be careful around New Brighton Promenade after donuts filled with nails were found there yesterday evening.
The hospitality industry may have been one of the worst hit sectors since the pandemic started, but this hasn't stopped many restaurants helping to support their local communities by giving away meals or making sure kids receive free school meals. Sophie Moore reports.
The hospitality sector has been supporting local communities throughout the pandemic. Craig Harvey, a head chef from Cheshire, has helped the vulnerable and elderly during lockdown. The business has been offering free food and support to elderly residents in the community.
So by offering the local community free meals, I knew it would help, and it was a time of the year that just people needed a little bit of uplifting as well. So we put out a Facebook page to offer this for those people.
Sports now with our sports editor, Joe Waddle.
Liverpool FC are preparing for their Champions League tie against RB Leipzig tomorrow. Jurgen Klopp will be hoping his side can bounce back after their disappointing loss to Leicester at the weekend saw them drift 13 points from league leaders Manchester City. Klopp believes referees got some decisions wrong.
I think it's offside, to be honest, and the 2-1 is a misunderstanding. So then the 2-1 had too big an impact on the game, because I think it was still 15, round about maybe 12, 30 minutes.
Everton boss Carlo Ancelotti said he was left disappointed last night after his side suffered a 2-0 defeat to Fulham. Everton hoped they would lift themselves to 5th in the table with a win, but were beaten by 2 goals from Fulham's new signing Josh Maja. Ancelotti pointed out his team's lack of energy as a reason for the performance.
We were not able to manage the difficulties that we had. That first of all was a really high intensity game, and I think we were tired from the game on Wednesday. And secondly, the pressure that they put really high on our centre back, we didn't have the opportunity to use a good possession to create opportunities.
The weights for the Aintree Grand National are set to be unveiled tomorrow, and the owner of Tiger Roll says pulled the 11-year-old from the race if he's handicapped too harshly, ending the horse's chance of emulating Red Rum's record of winning the National 3 times. That's it from me. Back to you, Asma.
Thanks, Joe. So we've already heard from teachers facing more disruption if the government goes ahead with plans to reopen schools in a fortnight's time. But spare a thought for those children struggling with autism. It's even harder for them to be engaged with their studies. Peterhouse School for Children with Autism in Southport has been working to adapt their lessons to help students to overcome more than just the difficulties presented by homeschooling. Deputy Head Teacher Calvin Wallace explains.
We're really seeing challenges such as, adapting to understanding the COVID rules for some students. And then for other students, it was really trying to support them understand what COVID was, because that might have increased anxieties based on listening to the news, listening to other people, and they might have had a perception around COVID that would have made them extremely anxious.
One parent described the effects of the pandemic on their child.
They said, "My son's social skills have regressed with lack of human contact and he has become much more reclusive. He was due to do a lot more independent living, such as money, shopping, and especially travel on public transport, which will have to be whilst he is still in the safe environment of Peterhouse."
So it was working on those type of personal development skills. So we started doing garden visits, social distance walks. We even set up an online gaming system run by staff so that students could engage in a safe way.
Valentine's Day may have looked a bit different this year, but a number of organizations have been working to make sure that love is still in the air. Beth Lindop reports.
Since the pandemic hit, most people have used Zoom for online meetings and keeping in touch with family and friends. But more and more people are now turning to the site to help find a virtual Valentine. Founder of Dating a Dash, Rob Ryle, set up the UK's biggest virtual speed date, with over 100 people joining the event in the space of 4 hours. And now student social media sites Liverfest and Uni of Liverpool meme page have combined to create an online matchmaking service for students on Merseyside. Nearly 600 people have signed up to take part in the scheme, which will see applicants matched up after answering a series of questions. Couples will then have the opportunity to have a virtual date, something which student Charlie Murray welcomes as lockdown has made it difficult to find love.
As a young person trying to date in the pandemic, obviously there's obstacles that you can't get round. Usually for a date you go out, have a few drinks, loosen the mood a little bit, but now you can't even leave the house without the police questioning you, so God knows how that would work for a date. But then this Zoom dating is actually really good. You get to meet new people face to face, you get to dress up every now and then, and if it goes well, you might have another Zoom call back.
So while being single in a pandemic is tough, Zoom dating could be the answer to finding love during lockdown.
And on to weather. This afternoon, it's swelled with a high of 12 degrees and some patches of rain in some parts. And finally, ahead of Pancake Day tomorrow, 2 of our reporters, Beth Lindop and Katrin Jones, in their COVID bubble, have tried their hand at tossing up some tasty treats.
Whether you prefer the traditional sugar and lemon or a more adventurous topping, pancake making can be a fun and simple activity to do with the family from the comfort of your own home. In preparation for the big day, we decided to put our cooking and flipping skills to the test by whipping up our own batch. Although our tossing wasn't perfect, the end product didn't disappoint.
So whether you're a natural in the kitchen or unexperienced like us, pancake making is the perfect activity to help banish the lockdown blues. Happy Pancake Day!
That's it from Mersey Focus News. For more on these stories, go to www.merseyfocuswordpress.com. Good night.
And good night from me.